Good morning, everyone. I trust you are still well. I've posted solutions to last week's ratio work on class charts, and the questions with the tables at the end, I've converted those into columns as I showed you in the video. So hopefully you can interpret my answers. Drop me an email if anything's confusing. But I did want to go through this question here. This was the hardest question on there, and well done if you had a go. This was a question that involved three currencies. So it involved pounds, euros and dollars. And I've set them out like this because I'm told sort of euro is like the common denominator, isn't it? So I know that £1 is 1.14 euros. So after divided by before, I know that the multiplier there is 1.14. I also know that $1 is 0.85 euros. So that means going that way, I'm multiplying by 0.85. And those of you that showed me your solutions, a few of you were getting that the wrong way round. So that's just something to make sure you were happy with. Now I'm going to scroll down, so I'm going to have to move the question. Hopefully you've got the question somewhere. So we're told that Frank wants to go on this holiday. He has to book flights which cost $710. And he also has to book a hotel, which is 45 euros, but it was 12 nights. Did you spot that? So it wasn't just 45 euros, it was 540 euros. And we know he's got £1,000 altogether. So we need to change both of these quantities into pounds, and then we need to see if it's more or less than 1,000. So the $710, I'm going to multiply that by 0.85 to get that in euros, and that's 603.5. So as it's money, I'm going to put 0.50, and then I'm going to divide that by 1.14, and I'm going to round that to 2 decimal places because that's a sensible way of writing money. I'm also going to take 540 and divide it by 1.14, and that gives me £473.68. And if I add those two together, you find that he just about doesn't have enough. He needed just over £1,000, so Frank doesn't have enough money. And well done if you had a go at those. This week's work, which I'll talk about in just a moment, you've got solutions for already. The following week is going to be the first of our formal submission weeks. It's always good to hear from you, but I'm going to ask everyone the week after next to submit some work, and more about that in a week's time. Okay, so anyway, let's move on from ratio to percentages, and let's quickly revise a few key percentage techniques. Nothing particularly new here, but definitely worth recapping. So if we want to find 35% of 230 without a calculator, well, we can do 10%, 3 lots of that, 5%, add it together. Bob's your uncle. But without a calculator is all very well, but most of the time we have got a calculator, and I can do the same sum straight away with a calculator by just taking 230 and multiplying by the decimal equivalent of 35%, 0.35. And we can use a similar approach when we come to increase by a percentage. So to increase £230 by 35%, it's growing. So I'm going to end up with more than 230. And I could work out 35% and add it on. But there's a quicker way of doing it, a way of doing it in one go. And that's to say, okay, this amount here is 100%, that's what I'm starting with, and I want to add on 35%. So that's going to give me 135%. And the decimal equivalent of 135% is 1.35. So the decimal equivalent of 35% was 0.35. Now we're dealing with the decimal equivalent of 135%, which is 1.35. So the answer to this question is, you just do 230 multiplied by 1.35, and that gives you your answer in one go. No need to add it on, you get there straight away. And we call this the multiplier approach. So we call 1.35 the multiplier that you use to increase by 35%. But what about decreasing? What if I want to decrease by 35%? Well, it's very similar, but a little bit fiddly. Again, 230, that's my 100%. And this time I want to take away 35%. I'm going to end up with less than I started with. This is a decrease. And 100 take away 35 is 65. Now the decimal equivalent of 65% is 0.65. And so the sum I need to do here is 230 multiplied by 0.65. And it's really important that you understand that if I want to decrease by 35%, I'm not multiplying by 0.35, I'm multiplying by 0.65. 100 take away 35 is 65, and that's the decimal equivalent. So the multiplier that I use to decrease by 35% is 0.65. Now I've attached a set of questions. First page is the questions, second page is the answers. You do not need to do all of the questions. Please only do the questions that I've identified in class charts. I hope you are all well, and you'll hear from me again on Friday. Take care.